This video is for turbidity and solids measurement, and this is the instrument we're going to use for turbidity measurement. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and once you press the power on button, it's going to go through various steps before we can use the instrument. While it's going through, I'm going to show you how to prepare the sample. So this is let us assume one of my sample, and these are the containers you need to use for measuring turbidity. I'm going to pour some of my sample in the container. You can fill it all the way to the top. Cap it. In the process of filling the sample in the container and capping it, it's possible that you may spill some sample on the outside, and also while holding you may leave some fingerprint. To remove that, use a Kim wipes and wipe the edges clean. Now the instrument is ready for us. It says, please insert sample vial, close lid to start reading. So you want to open this one, insert your sample vial, close it, press read. It will say stabilizing for a minute, and then, or less than a minute. Now is the number. I will take the final reading. Give it a few seconds for stabilizing, reading, and whatever the final number it displays, that will be my turbidity. Now we can take it out, and depending on the number of samples you have, you can fill in as many vials as possible and measure it. Make sure you note down the measured turbidity number. I'm going to turn it off now. Once you're done, turn it off. After you measure the turbidity, you want to measure the solids in your sample. Take your sample, and I have this vacuum filtration apparatus right here. Let's set up the vacuum filtration. First, attach this part right here, and before we get started, you want to measure the weight of this aluminum dish with one filter paper. I'm going to take one filter paper, put it in this one, and take the whole thing. I have a balance right here. I'm going to measure the initial weight. So the initial weight, I would let it stabilize. So 2.3482. It says stable right now. So this would be my initial weight. The number kind of changes in the fourth decimal place, but that should be fine. Now take the filter paper, put it on the black part, try to adjust or make it centered, try not to touch the filter paper, and then this setup goes on the top. This part of this one has a magnet in it. Once you take it close, you will feel the magnetic pull and attach it securely. And here's the on-off switch for the vacuum pump. Turn it on, and now you're ready to pour your sample. Gently pour your sample along the wall of this flask. You don't want to pour it right in the middle. You may tear the filter paper. So I'm going to pour it on the edges. You want to filter approximately 100 milliliters of your sample. Use a graduated cylinder, measure 100 ml sample. So the pump is applying vacuum pressure, it is pulling the liquid through the filter paper. Now turn it off. Your filtration is done. You can gently remove the top. Again, use the forceps. Now the filter paper is going to be wet, so be careful in handling it. Take it out, put it back in this container, your aluminum container. Now take this one, and I have an oven right here. This is set at 70 degrees Celsius now. We are going to change this to 104 for tomorrow's lab class, or whenever the lab class is. You want to dry the filter paper at least for 1 hour. If you want, you can leave it overnight and then cool it. To cool it, when you take it out from 104 degrees Celsius, it's going to be hot. Put it inside. Let it sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes. It will cool down to room temperature. Once it cools down to room temperature, take it out. Go back to the same balance, the one where you measured the initial value. So I'm going to try to zero this instrument. I would say 0. Put this in. Your weight should increase because you filtered some sample and it had some solids in it. The weight should increase. Note down the new weight. And also, before you put this container in the oven, you want to write down a sample ID, a number or something. Use pencil. Don't use marker. At 104 degrees Celsius, the marker will burn off. So try to use a pencil and mark it. Measure the weight before you filter your sample, dry it, and then measure the weight, dried weight again, at least 1 hour. But if you want, you can let it sit in the oven for 24 hours.